What's good, everybody? Steve here, Gate City Sports Channel. Today we're on the BGN network. I got my guy Bird Gang 31 just down below me here. And you see the topic, guys. You know what we're about to talk about. I got a feeling this is going to be a pretty anticipated topic. We're talking Jaylen Waddle. We're talking Devonte Smith. We're talking Alabama products. And which one we feel has had the better year. So it's going to be an exciting one, man. What's up, Bird Gang 31?
Man, I'm good. How you doing today, Gate? Ready to talk about these Bama
Doing well.
boys? You know them Bama boys are tough. They tough.
They are, and you know what's crazy right from the start was what stood out to me was the production. Right, it was how much production, how many targets I saw over the last 5 weeks that were going into Jaylen Waddle. That's the very first thing that stood out to me. So coming into this, like, what were your thoughts about Jaylen Waddle? Like before you really knew anything other than the draft material. Like, what did you think about Jaylen Waddle?
I told you guys I wanted Jaylen Waddle over Devonte Smith. Like I thought we should have stayed at 6 and picked him. Like, watching him over the years here in Alabama, Alabama, you guaranteed every Saturday you're watching the Alabama game, I'm saying, here in Alabama. So I seen them both play, but then when Waddle went down, I knew that I didn't think Devonte was going to step up the way he did and become like the Heisman Trophy winner or whatnot, but he did his thing, man. I gotta give him credit. And to get a first-round pick and Devonte Smith, that's a lot better than one player. So I'm happy with the decision. The Slim Reaper's just as good. They just have different skill sets. I like that Waddle's explosiveness. That's what really makes Waddle. He's very explosive and quick. He's like one of the fastest guys I know on the Dolphins, and maybe one of the fastest guys in the league. The way when he's go up to full speed. So I'm happy for him. I've watched some highlights and stuff with Waddle. He's looking good out there, man. Like they're simplifying the offense for him, putting him in the right positions to make plays over there. And I kind of think our coach needs to do the same thing with Devonte Smith.
So I know this is going to be a sore topic with us being Philly fans, man. And I anticipate we might get some comments here pretty soon. What stood out to me about Jaylen Waddle is the fact that in the last 5 weeks, he's had 9 or more targets in 4 of the 5 games. In 3 out of the 5 games, he's had 10 or more. He's being targeted a lot. And, there's some things going on with Miami, but Miami has a really good receiving core. Like, when they're healthy, with Devontae Parker and those guys out there, like they got a decent receiving core in Miami. So I was kind of like, oh, okay, like, I haven't really been following Miami. I know that they struggled early in the season. I was like, I wonder what's going on here. Like, there's something strange going on. So I started to wanted to watch the film, and I went to see, like, number one, like, what's going on here. What I remember mostly about Jaylen Waddle coming out of college is just how explosive he was. I mean, he was just absolutely destroying dudes with double moves. I remember watching his Georgia film, and Georgia had like Stokes and those guys out there. I mean, they had 2 really good corners out there at Georgia, and man, he ate them up in that Georgia game the last time he played with them. And it was just a way that he was able to sell his body positioning and to get corners to bite, and just what he could do is just the stop and go ability of Jaylen Waddle was really exciting. Now, what I will say was concerned me. I do a lot of scouting, I do stuff like that. What concerned me initially about Jaylen Waddle is that when I think of explosive players like that, right? I mean, he's right around the 180-pound mark, right? So he's not quite, Devonte Smith's under 180 pounds, but you don't see a lot of that in top 10. What I thought of originally was Ted Ginn Jr., who Ted Ginn Jr. is a very productive guy in the NFL. He's a very good special teams player, and he's a deep threat. I will say this, though. I think Jaylen Waddle, even though Ted Ginn's a really good football player, and it's tough to put a rookie up there, to me, the ceiling for Jaylen Waddle is far above what Ted Ginn Jr. was ever able to accomplish. And
oh, yeah. I agree.
I got a few things, man. Like, I got some film lined up, guys, I want to show everybody, and I want to break these 2 players down. But in reverse, before we get to the film, guys, I want to talk a little bit about Devonte Smith and what I saw from Devonte Smith, which was a very smooth operator. Devonte Smith against man coverage is he's smooth, man. He's not a big dude. This is not a guy that's just out physicaling you off the line of scrimmage, right? This isn't Alshon, where Alshon he wasn't getting any separation. He was just stronger than everybody else until he started getting dinged up and injured. Devonte just has a smooth release off the line of scrimmage that there's a reason why this guy was the highest graded wide receiver against man coverage in the 2021 draft. I think his grading was like a 96. It was something ridiculous like that.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, when I watched this college film, I was just really impressed with how good of a route runner Devonte Smith was. Like, I definitely agree with you that Jaylen Waddle was an explosive player. Like, you watch that guy's highlight film and you were just like, whoa, this dude is straight explosion. I mean, this is just like TNT right here. This dude is. Jaylen was just a way he comes in and out of his breaks. And that's what I want to start off with, guys. We did a little pre-study for you guys here. We did a little bit for you guys to kind of bring you along with us. So we're going to talk from the beginning here. We're going to show you guys some clips, and we're going to show you their release. And we're going to talk about both of these young men's release off the line of scrimmage. And then we'll get into some of the stats and the statistics and stuff like that. I gave you a little bit about the targets, but we'll get into a little bit more. I see some of you guys already posting some stuff, so we appreciate y'all. But here we go. We're going to start off with Jaylen Waddle, and I want to show Jaylen Waddle on a slant. It's kind of like a slant route. It's an in-breaking route. This is a sight to behold what this young man can do to a cornerback. All right, y'all. Here we go. So right from the jump, it's off coverage, right? So it's not going to be an apples to apples comparison, Bergang, because what I'm going to show you with Devonte is more of a man concept he's going to face. But I think it shows the strengths right from the jump of Jaylen Waddle, which is you can't leave that man space. No. And the reason they're leaving him space is they don't want him getting vertical because the kid's a problem, man. This kid he's a big time problem from the league. I'm going to say
I like it at the top of that route, how as soon as he caught the ball, that distance, it only took one step and it was up the field, like full steam ahead, explosiveness. And that's what I like seeing from a guy like, Waddle. As soon as he caught the ball, it was like up the field. There's no wasted motion. He didn't still come gliding across the field. He cut it straight up the field, started gaining positive yards.
Yeah, that's a great point, Bergang. Exactly, right? It's like it was such a fluid motion, right? Like they hit him almost, I don't want to say it was in stride because that's not really a stride pass because it's a slant route. Of course, it's a stride pass. You know what I mean? Like that's an obvious one, but it's it's like he doesn't even slow down. Like there's not even like a slight slowdown to catch the ball. Like it's like one speed with this dude. And when he finally kicks it into the other gear, I mean, it's just like, oh my God, you can see the panic. Like, oh crap, we got to figure out how to get this guy to the ground. This kid's fast. He is, man. The explosion of this young man is a sight to behold. Like, he can really run, man. Like, I'm going to give you some names. You tell me how crazy I am. When I look at this young man, two names come to mind to me. These are two exceptional athletes that I think of with the ball in their hands is just, they're crazy productive. And I'm not saying that this young man is to their level yet. I'm saying he's this type of athlete. Number one, Deshaun Jackson. He's got the Deshaun Jackson-esque kick the afterburners on you. It's all over. He's also very Deshaun Jackson-esque with the way he can just release off the line of scrimmage and eat up the yards and cushion between the corner and him. There's definitely some things about Deshaun's game. They mirror each other a little bit, to be quite honest. The other guy for the chat that I'll say that he reminds me of, the second guy he reminds me of, Bird Gang, Tyreek Hill. Yeah. Tyreek Hill, which they're different stories. Tyreek Hill's, running back that got converted. I don't know Jaylen Waddle's backstory. I don't know if he has any running back in his backstory. He runs like a running back at times. So maybe he does, because he's definitely got that kind of vision to him. He's got that explosiveness. Tyreek Hill is like, I'm not saying he's Tyreek Hill. I mean, Tyreek Hill is Tyreek Hill for a reason. But this young man has that kind of explosiveness to him.
It's like the explosion is a little bit different from Tyreek. I feel like Tyreek, you just see quickness, his explosion is like really like an explosion, like bam, like it looks like he'd be hard to bring down explosion. You know what I'm saying? It looks like a power explosion off the line. Like every step, it seems like he got so much power in each stride. You know what I'm saying? Where if he hits somebody, he's gonna bounce off of him and keep going. You know, Tyreek kind of glides into it with the quickness where he creates a little bit more separation probably than Jaylen Waddle just off his speed alone. But yeah, both of those guys, I like both of those comparisons you have. You know, I can't even think of no one else that it would be. You know, because I could think of, to me, kind of reminds me of kind of like maybe even like an old school Antoine Bolden, but faster.
Yeah, well, Anquan was just a bulldozer.
Yeah.
But yes, he was good with the ball in space. I get what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Like he had very good vision. Like, he had vision
Mm-hmm.
like a running back in space.
Yeah.
Now, what I want to show here is, and mind you guys, this is not an apple to apple comparison. All right, everybody. So we just saw Jaylen Waddle playing against, zone coverage. The reason is if you go man press on Jaylen and you miss, you're in a lot of trouble. So they're going to zone him a lot in the league. Now we're going to see them try to come up on Devonte Smith, who is 20 or so pounds lighter than Jaylen Waddle and taller than Jaylen Waddle. So the frame is a lot different between these two players. This is a man press situation. Devonte Smith is going to be lined up against probably one of the best cornerbacks in the league in Marshawn Lattimore. I want everybody to see just how well this young man runs this route because, I haven't been excited about a receiver in Philly and it's been some time. And this guy's good. He's really good. He's a very good route runner. So without further ado, guys, I'm going to stop talking. I'm just going to show you the clips because I think it's worth seeing. And I think you guys are going to enjoy it. But we're going to take a look at a man snap rep. This is Devonte Smith. Pay attention to his release, guys. Here it goes. So, this is one of the better cornerbacks in the league, Marshawn Lattimore. And Marshawn Lattimore, he had a hard time staying in front of Devonte Smith there.
Yeah.
And, that was a game we all kind of said. There's a lot of us that were talking. We said, if he comes out of here and he looks dominant against Marshawn Lattimore, there's something there. Like, we all said that. Like, man, there's something there. Like, this is a legit top-end corner in the league. He didn't fare bad. He had a productive day. He didn't get into. I don't think he got into the end zone, but I mean, he got a couple on old Marshawn in that game.
Yeah, my favorite play is when he caught that one on Lattimore, went down, Lattimore picked him right back up, like sat him back down like a little kid. I was like, man, that must be embarrassing.
Yeah, he was. You could tell he was. You could tell Marshawn was getting a little frustrated with him just because, like, he's hard to stick. He's hard to stay in front of. Like, the kid is not like. He's fast. He's deceptively fast. But it's not even so much that the explosion per se. It's just how smooth this young man's stride is. He's a very smooth stride. And it's just difficult to keep pace with him for a duration of time. And the way this young man can release off the line of scrimmage is there's not many people in the league that can do that, man. Like, this young man
release is what gets his separation. I feel like Waddle, the explosion gets his separation more, but with Smith, it's more of that release off the ball, period. When he makes his move on you, like you seen in that clip, man, Lattimore was spun backwards. You know what I'm saying? He didn't know where Devonte was going for a second. And then he realized, by the time he realized that Devonte was already cutting across the field, he's like, oh, man, you kind of seen him on that trail route trying to keep up and try to catch up to him. But he was already toasted from that move. You know what I'm saying? That foot action is electrifying with Devonte Smith.
It is. And he's got a little bit to learn in the league. Like, I do think when guys get really physical with him on the line of scrimmage and disrupt this route, he gets back on it. He wins later in the route just because he's such a good route runner, but he can get disrupted from guys like Trayvon Diggs and guys like that. We saw Bradbury last week, got his hands on him a little bit. That's really kind of the key there. But if this young man starts figuring out how the hand fight at the line of scrimmage and keeps the explosion he has, whew, man, this kid, I'm telling you, this is one of the best receivers I've seen wear Eagles green in some time.
Oh yeah,
in terms of the route running and what this young man can do. He's really, really good. This is a talented football player. All right. Now what I want to talk about a little bit is the run after the catch aspect of things. Because they're both pretty good at the run after the catch, but they're both completely different types of athletes. Like there's a level to the run after the catch that comes with a guy like, Jaylen Waddle that's not going to be present with a guy like Devonte Smith. There's a different explosion to it. But nonetheless, it still exists, and he's still a really good football player. And they're both tremendous at this. But we're going to start off. We're going to watch this Jaylen Waddle footage, guys, and then we're going to pick up the conversation because, it's these dudes are good, man. This Alabama knows how to actually coach these guys up at the receiver spot. I mean, it's quite obvious. All right, guys, I'm going to stop talking. Let's run the film. So, just from the beginning, man, if he had the angle, what happened was he didn't have the angle to take it to the house. He had the speed. He absolutely had the speed to take that one to the house. He's clearly going to be the fastest player normally on any football field. Like that dude if you hit him in stride, that's a problem. Like he's a problem if he's hitting stride because the kid has just got another gear that most guys don't. It's weird how good he is at concentrating on the catch. The only problem I've ever really had with Jaylen Waddle in college is that he got banged up a little bit. I don't want to over-exaggerate his injuries in college because I think that happened a little bit in the draft. But he did suffer some setbacks in college from injuries, and the biggest one being last year when he really was supposed to be the guy. He was supposed to be Devonte Smith for Alabama. And because of that injury, it kind of allowed Devonte Smith to really kind of shine more. I thought both of these guys were going to shine no matter what. But
I was talking about that earlier. Yeah. They probably would have ended up being neither one of them would have been the Heisman Trophy winner. They probably would have Matt Jones in if Waddle would have stayed because they both would have had electrifying seasons. And, you would just give it to the quarterback in that aspect.
Yeah, absolutely. And that young man, like I said, man, like he's super talented, man. Like it's crazy that they have this kind of talent at one school. And just to think, like, the Calvin Ridleys, the Julio Jones, just the amount of dudes.
Mari Cooper,
and of course, a
Judy.
lot of that has to do with recruiting. Yeah, Jerry Jeudy. Like, I mean, just the amount of guys have come through this school and moved on. Like, I mean, they're all really good football players.
And this next draft, too, they got a couple of guys coming out. Mechie and Williams. Both of those guys are beasts.
Yeah. And like I said, they are different. Like, they're all different types of receivers. But every one of them are exceptional route runners. As crazy as that is, they're all really good route runners.
Yeah.
Which, I mean, it does speak to the coaching staff there. Like, yes, it's easy to win games when you have that kind of talent, but they're still coaching the kids up because these kids are coming into the league as very polished route runners, all of them.
Oh, yeah.
And that stands out. Now, what I want to do is I want to take a look and I want to give you guys, an example of Devonte Smith. Like I said, Devonte Smith, not quite the same dynamic athlete with the ball in his hands that Jaylen Waddle is, but he's still a dynamic athlete. It's like, it's like calling every other receiver not dynamic because they're not Tyreek Hill. You know what I mean? Like it's an unfair comparison at times.
There's only one Tyreek.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Devonte Smith, run after the catch, guys. Let's roll that beautiful bean footage. He's
like it.
good.
I like it.
He's pretty good, man. I mean, he's more of a dynamic athlete than I think people realize. He's not Jaylen Waddle. He's not. I mean, you can see there's different speeds there, but he's a very
Yeah.
smooth strider. He has a very good vision. I mean, you look at a guy like Jalen Reagor, who used to be a running back, and he is a very good athlete, but he doesn't have the vision. You get a guy like Devonte Smith, who has the vision, who's a decent athlete, and you can see the kind of production he gives you on things like run after the catch plays. These plays that are designed to do that. You know, same thing with Quez. Quez is the same way, where he's a very dynamic athlete. That's true, but it also has a lot to do with the fact that he can see things quickly, process them as a runner. And if you give him space, that's a problem. You know what I mean?
He can be out of there.
He's a very good athlete, man. Devonte Smith is. I mean, I didn't think, because like when I first heard his numbers and stuff, I was thinking like, oh, he's going to be like a high 4.4s, maybe low 4.52s. Sometimes you forget though, man, like it's easy to run in shorts. That's not your game speed. It's not your game speed. Your game speed can be completely different. And this young man has a very high game speed to where he can really run with them pads on. And he's almost, against some of these guys, if you don't get your hands on him and disrupt the route, he's almost impossible to stop in man coverage. Like what he's doing to one of the better corners in the league it's eye opening. Like, hey man, we actually got something.
And you have to worry about
later.
What I like about the two is you just got to worry about like where Devonte lacks in that explosiveness. He gains in his footwork. You know what I'm saying? Like the way he separates, like you see him at the top of that route right before he cut, the corner's lost already. If you look at a guy like Waddle were to run that same route, he would have just planted that foot, and his explosiveness from his speed would have took him, and created that same separation, but they get it different ways. You know what I'm saying? Like, he sets him up, jukes him, and now he's clear for that route. Waddle would have just been boom next, you know what I'm saying? Next up the field type of, but it's still like they're both explosion. They're both really good at doing what they do, but just they do it separate, two different ways. But you kind of get the same result.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's what's exciting about these two guys is that same school, different bodies, different builds, different skill sets, still incredibly productive, both of them. So I know some of you guys are kind of coming in. You're asking a couple of questions. We appreciate y'all. What's up, Cujo and friends? Appreciate you coming in, man. Smith is a very, very good football player. I agree, man. Dude does not look small. And then we got Victor. Victor came in and said, haven't heard a lot about Waddle. How's he doing? I know Chase is awesome, but haven't heard about Waddle. He's been pretty productive, man. I mean, I haven't watched every single snap of his this season.
Yeah, last game, 159, couple touchdowns there.
Yeah, he's got like 70 plus receptions. He's got over 700 yards, 4 touchdowns. Like he's had a really productive year. And that's in an offense that has talent. I mean, they're not winning games and they lack talent probably at quarterback, but they got talent outside. I mean, they got guys that can really, really play.
And most of those guys been hurt too. Like Parker, Fuller, those guys, they haven't really even been playing. So Waddle's kind of
that's true. Yeah, and it's kind of opening up that opportunity.
He's taking hold of his opportunity. He's making the most of it for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, and it's nice to see. I mean, that's what you want when you get a guy up that high. You want him to be able to fill in when you've had already A+ talent out there. You want to trust that if you spend that draft pick again on that position, you can fill in like that. You can do those things, and that's what they're getting from him. They're getting that kind of production from this young man, and it's standing out, man. Like he's really good. And on that note, guys, I'll give you one more footage of him. One more for Jaylen Waddle, since he's really we're talking Jaylen Waddle and we're talking Devonte Smith, but for most of the Eagle fans in the room, this might be some of the first exposure from the NFL level that they really had to Jaylen Waddle. So I want to show one more, and this is him hitching up. This is him reading a zone situation, knowing exactly where he's supposed to be, hitching up, and catching a touchdown pass, which is very, very important.
Yeah.
I mean, dude's good, man, and that's goes to show you. I mean, this is him playing the short side of the field, the boundary side. He's not a big dude. This is not this is not your your typical split end receiver. It's just that people don't dare to try to press him. Really, I mean, it's pretty rare to see anyone try that. I'm not saying no one has attempted it, but it's rare to
Mm-hmm.
see that because of the level of athlete he is, and because of that, he gets to operate freely there, and he can read stuff. I mean, to me, what that shows is a football player that understands. Okay, this is our route combination. This is the coverage. This is where I should be sitting down and presenting myself as a target. I wish we had some guys in Philly right now that were doing that.
Right. These guys out there, like that's another reason why, the knock on Jaylen. And I really feel bad for the guy because it's just like we really don't have three good receivers, man. Quez, we can say all we want. We can say, giving him more targets, he will be that guy. But he doesn't get the targets, so we can't say he's that guy. Just like Miles Sanders, we can't say he's that guy because he don't get enough carries. He's not healthy enough to stay in the game to get enough for those carries. So it's like the same thing's going on, with our receiving core. Rager's not that guy. We already know that. You know what I'm saying? Rager's a slot guy. Give him the bubble screens, give him the end around, jet sweeps, quick slants type guy. And that's pretty much it. That's all you're going to get really from him, I think, right now. Until he gets out of his own way, and develops more in the offseason. Take it more a little bit. I think he needs to take it a little bit more serious to come back a lot stronger. But Devonte's really the only guy, that can run the route tree perfectly. That's only one receiver. And after you get double that guy, send help that guy, it's like now you're stuck with a bunch of, all right football players. You're not stuck with some of these elite guys have, you know what I'm saying? Like when you got guys like, the Rams, Cup, Woods, Van Jefferson, you know what I'm saying? Like, Kansas City for all them years, they had Hardman, Tyreek Hill, even Travis Kelce, you consider him a receiver out there. Like we got, Dallas Goedert, who hasn't even proved yet that he is that elite receiver. I mean, tight end. He's on his way up. We like what we see, but he hasn't proved anything yet. I thought this was going to be the year he proves it. He's not really showing me, eliteness. He shows me he's still good. That's what he shows me. You know what I'm saying? We don't have those bona fide stud guys that catch everything inside their sight. You know what I'm saying? To catch everything around them, that want to go out there and make that big play every single time the ball's in the air. And I think, like that's what I was saying. Like, I really think we need to draft another one. Draft another first round pick receiver. If there's a stud out there, keep it going until you get it right.
Yeah.
It's like keep it going until you get it right. Because what we're doing is not right so far. Rager's not right. Quest is still staying on the team because he wasn't even a first round pick. He was like fifth round pick. He's developing at a nice range, nice rate. But
he was lower than that. He was a 6th round pick.
Yeah, 6th round pick, even better. You know what I'm saying? So he's actually doing what he's supposed to do as a 6th round pick. Like he produces at that kind of a level right now, and I can see his ceiling being even higher. The more they get on the ball, the more he gets acclimated into an offense. You know what I'm saying? He can. I think personally, they need to start him. They need to start Quez and Smith, and then put Rager in that slot whenever we go 3 receivers.
Yeah, absolutely. Victor, I definitely get the point you're making. But I will say this about our guys. They have a Ward Jr. there. They got guys that play that role and they're good at it. Quez, here's the thing about Quez, man. He made a couple of good plays. The catch on the sideline, it was a great throw by Hurts. It was a really great catch by Quez last week. But I'm going to tell you right now, man, that interception, that was Quez's fault, man. Quez did not run through the route like he was supposed to. I don't know what happened. I don't know why he pulled up on it. He was interfered with. You still got to complete the route, and he didn't do that. And that led to a big-time interception. That's a young receiving mistake there.
I think that's more PI.
It's a little of both, man. It's a little of both.
Jerked back.
Here's the thing. They're never going to call that. They're never going to flag that if you don't run through the route.
Yeah.
That's the thing.
Because he literally got jerked back. He took a step backwards off the jerk. Like that was a clear, obvious PI, I thought.
Yeah, he was interfered
maybe
with.
what you're saying,
there's no doubt he got interfered with.
Yeah, since he didn't finish it out, you're saying that's why they didn't throw the flag. They're like, oh, you didn't want to try for it, why should I give it to you type thing.
And then on the last play of the game, the ill-fated drop. I don't feel like I'm emotionally drained from that one. Everyone's focused on Devonte Smith, but what really needs to be, it's a double crossing route concept, and it's double crossers. Quez doesn't do a good job on that route. He just doesn't. So, I mean, Quez does some good things, and he's a young guy. He's developing. Like, he's far ahead of his 6th-round pick.
Mm-hmm.
He's not a finished product, man. He's
Oh,
got
no.
a lot of work. Yeah, there's a lot of work to be left with Quez, to be honest with you, to be like a starter in this league. But I think he's proven himself to be. He's a good 3 or 4 on any team. Any team would be, they'd be happy to have him as a 3 or 4. You know, we're
But
hoping
even
as
like
Eagle
the
fans that he could
talent we
develop
have on
into a
our
2.
team, I feel like he
Yeah.
could be this number 2. You know,
He
because we give it to
probably will
Rager,
be going forward.
and Rager is not doing it. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? He's not. Dude, why is he a number 1 draft pick, second year, which is supposed to be your most, your biggest jump, and he's sitting here with what, 22, 25 catches, 200 and something yards, and 2 touchdowns? That's pathetic.
Yeah.
To be going into what, week 13? That's pathetic.
Yeah.
You know? You got all these rookies outshining you. You know what I'm saying? Even on sorry teams.
Yeah.
You should be able to show more than what you're doing, man. Like, I will give him that nice little catch. Whatever. He had 1 catch. Good job for you. But, even JJ had a catch. Like, that's nothing. You need to be an actual game changer, a piece of the offense that people have to account for. And I don't think there's none of them. I'm not even really willing to give Dallas Goedert that right now. Because he's dropping passes. He's dropped open passes too.
They all are. They all are.
You know?
Even Devonte dropped some, to be honest.
But he was mostly dropped a lot of his early. Like early in the season, he dropped a lot more. Like nowadays, he really drops them now. But early in the season, he was dropping them for sure. And that's when I was like, "Quinn needs to start over him."
Yeah, Melvin Gilmore. I'd actually like to see John Hightower get an opportunity again. John Hightower is he's a good route runner. He's very good against man. He's slight of frame, just like Devonte, though. So you got to worry about, you got Devonte and you got him out there. You got to worry about teams that might get physical and play press on you because they have to eat it. And they can't get their routes disrupted to the point they're completely removed from the play. Now, there are things you can do as a coaching staff. You can give guys free releases, right? You can put guys in motion. You can run, stacked formations. There's things you can do to get those guys free releases. But you got to, we would have to find ways of getting creative in that if we ran up against that kind of problem. But I think Hightower deserves another shot. Now, my understanding is he had some pretty severe maturity issues last year. I wasn't around the young man. I don't know exactly what happened. I just know that Jason Avant kind of called him out for it. So I'm not too sure exactly what happened. I'm guessing that when his time got reduced, his playing time, I'm assuming he must not have handled that very well. But hard to say, man. If you're not in a room, all you can really do is listen to what others said that were, around the program.
And I feel like all these receivers should be producing more. That's the coaches. You know what I'm saying? I still feel like Nick's in the first 2 pages of his playbook. You know what I'm saying? He hasn't went deep into nothing. We're still like, we're not doing the first 5 weeks where we only did the same 5 plays, but maybe now we're doing 10 plays. You know what I'm saying? It's not like there's so many other formations I don't see us doing that other teams are doing. There's so many other, concepts that we're using, passing routes that other teams are using that we're not using. It seemed to me like it's like the same pass play. He might switch the formation instead of, double stack, same play, but he might go three wide, twins on one side, single on the other one, but the same exact play. You know what I'm saying? So it's like you're not seeing variety in any of these plays, really, for the most part.
Yeah. What's up, Lucio? So he says, y'all need a true number 1 wide receiver. I don't like, here's the thing. To me, number 1 wide receiver just means you get the targets. To me, that's, I think Devonte is perfectly fine being the guy you target more. I think we need a guy that can play the split end, the boundary with consistency. A guy that has a big enough wingspan to catch conversion, third down stuff. A guy that can go up and make contested catches in the end zone, who J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was supposed to be. I don't know where the coaching staff in the front office is at this point on him, but it's getting harder and harder to think he's ever going to be anything even remotely productive in the NFL at this point. But we don't really have that guy in the offense. And I do think that's something that is missing from the offense, that true split end, boundary side, X-aligned wide receiver. We don't have that. We don't have that guy.
No,
I know a lot of people are going to say, well, we did have that guy. It was Travis Fulgham, but look, they made the decision because of whatever was happening, man. You know,
we can't control that.
yeah, I just saw Jalen's comments. I was laughing. You missed it. We already talked about it earlier, Jalen, but I'll catch you up in a second. He
I
said,
really feel
Victor
like we
said
need
that,
to go out and get Drake London from USC. Not because I'm a USC homer either. It's just he's a big physical receiver, you know, that I
yeah.
think will be able to dominate at that position. You know what I'm saying? He's good X.
There's a couple of guys in this draft that I think
Mm-hmm.
you never really fully know if the guys are going to work out in the NFL, but they fit if J.J. Arcega-Whiteside was believed at one point to have the ability to eventually develop into that type of player, these guys have just as good a chance. You know what I mean? So, I mean, there are a few of these guys out there that I definitely think that, depending on where you're at with the draft capital decisions you make at quarterback, things like that, I think we
Especially
got
if
to
he
go
falls to
defensive
the second,
heavy.
because I know he had a leg injury
Yeah.
at the end of the season. If he falls to the second round, I'll jump on it with our second round pick. Just go get
Yeah.
him. And then you're not wasting another first round pick on a receiver, but you're actually still getting a first round talent in the second.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, Victor, I broke him down. I said that in off coverage, Jalen Reagor is pretty good at separating versus off coverage. But, this last game, man, it's hard to defend him, man. Like, you can win, you can gain separation. If you don't secure the catch, it's all for nothing.
Yeah.
And
I don't really even see the explosion that everybody talks about with him. To me, he looks like he's going in the same gear. I don't ever see
he's explosive,
really.
but he's not decisive right now. I don't know what happened, but the decisiveness you saw from him in college,
Mm-hmm.
which allowed him to exhibit the explosion, is not there. Now, there's been other questions that surrounded him. I know he failed a physical in training camp. Now, that was
Mm-hmm.
supposed to be due to some kind of a lingering injury. It wasn't necessarily because of the conditioning he was in, but he failed a conditioning drill. And, that caused some issues early in the year. So, I mean, there's been these little weird things with him. Don't get me wrong. But to me, he's just not decisive enough, especially when you see those those end around like jet motion sweeps, the jet sweep stuff that they try to use him on. He's just not decisive enough. Like there was
But we only did it one game, really.
Yeah, no, they've done it in a few games. They've tried to hit him on a few games with that.
I mean,
He just
with that
doesn't.
the same way we used him in Detroit,
Yeah,
where he went, end around type runs where he had 12 and 12. Like
I think it
feel
was
like
the Chargers game. He got one. They were setting the edge. He had the edge, and he had probably, I'd say, a 6 to 10 yard gain. But for whatever reason, and I'm not sure why he did what he did, but he tried to cut it back. I don't know if he thought that somehow this defensive end would have more foot speed than him to get to the edge or had the angle. I don't know. I don't know what the heck he saw. I don't know what he saw, Bergang. I don't know. But for whatever reason, he made the decision to try to cut it back. And I will admit there were a couple of plays I saw in his college film where he did that. It was a bad decision, but it worked out for him just because he was the best athlete on the field.
Mm-hmm.
But to me, it's a lack of decisiveness. He's just not decisive in those plays. And I think it's getting ugly. It's starting to get ugly with him with that, And I'm very cautious of what I say because a guy like that can surprise you in a week or two and start really producing. But I ain't counting on it. Yeah, I'm not counting on it. Though. That's the thing. Like if it happens, I'll be happy. But you know what I mean? Counting on it is,
It's that ick factor. Like I'm starting to even believe he's too mentally broken. You know what I'm saying? I feel like it took all the way in training camp before he started acting right in training camp for Nick to get in his face and yell at him. Then you see him have a couple of good practices. But then after that, you know what I'm saying? Where did that energy come where you're catching these one-handed balls? You're doing big things again. We haven't seen it because you have more than 200 yards.
Sure, I agree.
There's people out there that make 200 yards in one game. You know what I'm saying? And definitely have over 200 in 2 games. So it's like for him still to be stuck at that number, it's like, where is this explosion there? Like where is the separation? Because a lot of the games too, like the ones we had to feed Devonte Smith, it wasn't all just because, we're feeding Devonte. It's because he was the only one getting open.
Yeah. Someone had said earlier on the conversation of what we started off with Jaylen Waddle, they said, how he really thought that he was getting a Jaylen Waddle-like talent in Jalen Reagor the year prior. And there's an element to that I agree. Like the dynamic athlete part of it, I agree. They thought they were getting that. Now their games are a little different. Like you go back to Rager and what he was able to do from the vertical jump, going up and getting balls over people and stuff like that, that's not really in Waddle's game. Waddle's just more just pure explosion. He's just the guy that if you hit him in stride, it's all over. He just hasn't proven to be that kind of a dynamic athlete in the NFL, though.
Yeah.
Rager, and it's unfortunate because you see a guy like Waddle who's, he's having a pretty good year, man. He's got 70 plus catches, 700 some yards. Some of it's a little dink and dunk. I think it took him a while to incorporate him properly, but
what's
this last
Devontae's
game
numbers
was coming
right
out
now
for him. Devonte's got like 48. He's just under 50 catches and over 600 yards. I think he's closing in on 7, but he's still at 600 and some.
Yeah, but a lot less catches too. So.
Yeah, but his yards per catch are a lot higher.
A lot higher.
Yeah, he's getting targeted a little bit more further downfield on a consistent basis. I think it took Miami a little while to properly incorporate Jaylen. Waddle, like, if I'm not mistaken, this was his first 100-yard game last week, where Devontae's already had 2.
A lot of that too when Tua went out. When Tua was in, he was Waddle's guy, and then when Tua went out for those games, they didn't really throw the Waddle too much. Yeah,
that's true, and that's probably that makes sense. That could be a really big component to why his where he's being targeted too. Because I like Jacoby Brissett. He's an NC State guy, transferred from Florida to NC State. He was pretty good for NC State. With that said, yeah, you know what I mean. Like, there's a reason why he didn't work out,
right?
In Indianapolis. There's a reason why New England was willing to let him go to Indianapolis. There's a reason why Indianapolis let him go to Miami. Like, he's not, you know what I mean? Like, he's just not that. He's a decent backup. He's a mid-tier backup that's maybe could even be argued to be one of the upper, thirds of the league in terms of the backups. But he's not. He's not a very good starting quality quarterback. I could see that. Yeah, I could see that. That they probably
and it was different quarterbacks. A lot of different quarterbacks like different targets. You know what I'm saying? Like, those type of caliber quarterbacks, I noticed they like using the tight ends more, dump offs to the running backs more, and whatnot, and things like that. So, and then also the offense gets changed up as a whole, where it turns to more of a rushing offense. Because again, Gaskin, during those games, that's when Gaskin started doing his thing.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's it's tough to judge their offense just because injuries, I think, have somewhat held them back. And they had talent, man. I mean, even their tight ends, they have a really talented tight end room, honestly.
Yeah, Brecky.
Yeah, Gesicki, the kid from, I think he was a Penn State product. He's another kid, big wingspan, can go out and catch balls. I mean, he's a good football player. Outside of Gesicki, they have a couple of guys out there that are pretty good, very talented tight ends, athletic guys that have some athleticism to them. When I look at Philly, and that's the thing, man, is like you look at these young offenses. These are both young offenses trying to rebuild. Our quarterbacks are from the same draft class. The 2 wide receivers we're talking about right now are from the same draft class. We have their first round pick. There's some similarities here. You know what I mean?
A lot of similarities. What's their record, too?
Yeah, we are pretty close in record, unfortunately, now. Yeah, I was hoping they would drop another game or 2, but yeah, they started playing better.
Yeah, I was mad they won last week. I'm like, they'll be winning. That's not what we want to see. Especially now that Carson's played 75%.
Yeah.
We want you guys to lose. Because, if they keep winning too and Carson keeps winning, man, we're looking at 3 mid-first rounds and possibly 1 late if, one team makes it to the playoffs.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I mean, that's the thing is that, you look at what's going on and it's hard to predict these things. And I know there are people that, they want us to get better draft positioning. I can't root like that, man. I root to win games. I just, I can't. I mean, it's just hard to watch a game with the expectation.
I root for the other 2 teams to lose, but definitely not our team. Yeah. I'm still in playoff mode.
Me too.
I'm like, I think we can do it. And I just want to, I hate the whole fact that, Jalen Hurts has 1 bad game. And now they're bringing up the whole Russell Wilson thing back up. You know what I'm saying? Like, just one bad game. Last week you're praising the guy. He didn't even throw a touchdown. Those are 3 rushing touchdowns. And you're praising the guy. And just because he has a bad game with 3 picks now, it's like, oh, Russell Wilson, giving up his trade clause coming field. I don't want Russ. Did you guys not realize Russ only won 3 games this year? And did you see that horrible interception he threw at the end of the game? Like, Russ is not the
Yeah.
same guy ever since he got all big and famous. You got to realize Russ been in the league for a while. You know, he's had his balling out years, but even last year they weren't that dominant of a team anymore. You know, once you sign these quarterbacks to that big money, you cannot build a team around them to keep putting up those championship teams. You know what I'm saying? We got Jaylen on his rookie deal. Chill out. We can get a lot better talent on our team for years to come if we just ride the ship with Jaylen. And you pretty much getting the same thing. And I won't even say I haven't checked Russ's numbers out, but I'm pretty positive he got more turnovers than Jaylen. You know what I'm saying? He probably yardage and stuff like that's about the same. You know, they both not winning very many games right now. You know, so but Jaylen's won 2 more games than them so far. You know, his second
Yeah.
year. So and he got the player that everybody wanted on our team, DK. How you have DK, Lockett, and all these boys, and you're not putting up big numbers? You know, people don't think about those things. You know, they hear a name, popular guy. He won a championship, or whatever. Oh, that's the answer. No, Russ is not the answer.
Yeah. I mean, to me, I've tried to stay as neutral as I can on that question of the quarterback, just because I don't want to get overly, you know what I'm saying? If you get too into the player, like it becomes hard to critique the performance and the play of the guy. I think that there were, here's the thing. That game was bad. That was a really bad game last week. It was horrible. But I will say this, even in how bad that game was, and I was at this conversation earlier with somebody. I will tell you, after you get a chance to look at the All-22, the one thing that stood out to me about Jalen Hurts is that, well, I'm still very much concerned about his ability to read NFL coverages. He's still struggling there with disguise and identifying it and beating it. His pocket mechanics on certain things are getting better. Even on the Jalen Reagor throw, to where mechanics of the release was bad. Like, he did not set himself up right there. He had an elongated throw. It hung the ball in the air. Became a very easy pick for Xavier McKinney. But what was good in terms of the pocket mechanics, where you could see an area where there was improvement there, was the way he actually slid and maneuvered the pocket and stayed in there and hung in there and throw it. So it's like, it's
better with that.
Yeah, it's hard to pinpoint it, like, because he's young and he's inconsistent as crap right now. That's the hard part is that he's inconsistent right now.
And the big reason why he's inconsistent, what people got to realize, like I said, 15 games in, my guy, there's a lot of defensive schemes he hasn't even seen yet. You know what I'm saying? It takes time. Like, those things that we want Jaylen to be good at, a lot of that's just going to come with time of actually seeing these different defenses, playing against it. You know what I'm saying? Like, a lot of the seeing the coverage type thing, that takes a while, man. There's not too many quarterbacks that come in and get that right off the jump. And it's like we're trying to rush it into this guy, and be like, oh, well, you still got to criticize him. I'm like, yeah, but if he's going every week against seeing some new stuff, because yes, you can say that's a cover too, but you don't know the disguises. You don't know the intricacies of that defense that they did to throw him off because he is a young quarterback, It's like, you see the just of it, you can pick out that was a cover 2 or that was a cover 3 and think, oh, what, you can't just read a cover 2, cover 3. It's not that simple. You know what I'm saying? Things that they do in the defense is a lot different. And like I said, until Jaylen gets, 2 years, 3 years, hell, some quarterbacks that are good, it still took them like 3, 4, 5 years before they actually were good, where they can walk to a line and dictate what coverage is right off the jump.
I think what gets missed in the conversation is we talk about the length of time that quarterbacks receive to develop. And if you are a static athlete, not a dynamic athlete, but a static athlete, a Mac Jones, if you struggle to read coverage for too long, it's probably a death sentence, because you can't really offer anything else. You know what I mean? You might have leadership skills, something like that, but if you're a static athlete, I think it's harder to endure for long periods of time while you develop. I think teams may be a little bit more reactionary and move on. But I think if you're more of a dynamic athlete, because you have other elements of your game that can win you football games, I think that can allow you to actually have more time to develop. And it really just depends upon the organization, because every organization is a little different with the way they approach these things. Like, Green Bay is not a fast play. They're not a fast play organization, right? I mean, and they've moved on from guys. I mean, they moved on from Huntley. They drafted Huntley a little ways back, and, They were trying to kind of see if they couldn't snag somebody and win one there. And that didn't really work out. So then they were back in the draft last year, not 2021, but 2020. And they took they took Jordan Love, So, I mean, they play that slow roll kind of thing,
And
They
then
did the
even
same
look
thing
at
with Aaron
Love. He
Rodgers.
had 2 years, and when he came in, he looked like hot trash.
Yeah, they did the same thing with Aaron Rodgers. He was slow rolled into the position.
Mm-hmm.
But not every organization's like that. They're not. Not every
Mm-hmm.
organization's going to be like
But
that.
with us, like, I just see, like, the things you do see, regardless of what anybody says about his defensive reading or whatever, Jalen's made every single throw in the NFL that you can make. You know what I'm saying? He's made them. You've seen them. You've seen spectacular throws. You know what I'm saying? You've seen bad ones too, but he's made every throw you need to make. So it's there. You know what I'm saying? Like you said, it needs to be more on a consistent basis. But even while he's struggling there, you take away Jaylen's other side of being a dual threat, that running side, and that if he didn't have that, then he'll be trash probably. You know what I'm saying? You obviously people bash him out all you want, but since he has that, that's another dynamic that makes your running game better. It makes your offense more dangerous. That not every quarterback has. You know what I'm saying? That's a unique skill set that that kind of keeps him where you got to be like, okay, maybe we should give him a little bit longer to see if he can develop that pass a little bit more, because he can take over a game with his legs too. You know what I'm saying? The 3 rushing touchdowns, never been done ever in Philadelphia history, at least. And he's done it already. He's still putting up. He's on pace for 1,000 yards rushing. When last time we had 1,000-yard rusher at quarterback? He's a quarterback, but he's a dual threat, and that matters. You know what I'm saying? When you hear dual threat, and I'm not talking about scrambling quarterbacks, I'm talking about pure dual threat quarterbacks. There's good narratives, there's bad negative narratives. They usually have a smaller window in the NFL. It's the bad thing. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But if you can maximize that window that they have with these guys, you can win yourself something. You know what I'm saying? You can get some wins. Definitely can get some wins on the board.
Yeah. I mean, here's my thing, Victor. I can't really grade Gardner Minshew too much just because there's a couple of roadblocks to such an evaluation. To begin with, I haven't seen him personally suit off the record, really break down film on him here in Philadelphia with the system, things like that. So there's only something I can't speak to. But what I will say worries me about Gardner Minshew and looking solely at just statistics. If we're only looking at surface level things like just the total yards he threw for, things like that, what worries me about such surface level statistics is those can be manipulated by garbage yards when those yards are occurring. And I'm not saying that, he's a bad football player. I'm saying I don't know because I don't have it in front of me to really diagnose how he's reading defenses, what he can do. I will say it does concern me is he didn't win a lot of football games. That's the number one thing that leaps off to me. But then number two, what concerns me is that in addition to not winning a lot of football games, they tried to move on from him they went for Nick first. Nick got injured. He stepped in, played really well. But then they went to Trevor Lawrence. You know what I'm saying? Like, there was always kind of like we're not sold on this dude being the franchise guy. Now, some of that has to do with draft positioning. It's hard to convince teams when you're like a 6th-round pick to hand you the ball unless you're Tom Brady, right? I mean, that's a difficult thing to do. And to remind you, he got to the Super Bowl and won off the back of a running game and a defense, and allowed him to kind of, step into a very unique role and a very unique window and opportunity that probably wouldn't exist in 99 out of 100 cases.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm a little iffy on the whole Gardner Minshew thing. I don't know how good he is or how bad he is, honestly. I do worry, though, that could be misleading with him, and that you got to be a little alert of fool's gold. You know what I mean? Like, I don't know, man. I have to see him play to
in Jacksonville. He did in Jacksonville. Like, everybody he tore it up and lit up the league in Jacksonville. You know what I'm saying? He did all right. He made lots. He made lots of mistakes in Jacksonville too. You know what I'm saying? He got a lot of errant passes in Jacksonville. You know what I'm saying? Like, everybody act like this guy was the golden kid. If he was such a golden kid, he'll still be in Jacksonville.
Yeah.
And
it's tough, because he felt a certain way about the way that the Jags moved on from him. He wanted to compete against Trevor Lawrence, which just wasn't realistic, man. You're not going to spend the 1st overall pick and then, I mean, of course that job, unless you want to be the backup, like it is what it is.
Sunshine's not even playing good over there.
No, but I try to warn people that he was more mistake prone than people understood. I mean, he got away with a lot of throws at Clemson. If you looked at his turnover, worthy passes, his turnover worthy passing rate was high. I mean, he did put some balls out there that could have been taken to the house. But he relied on his arm talent. He's got a really good arm. We see today Hurt is a more dynamic Tyrod Taylor, doesn't make a lot of costly turnovers, uses his legs very well, and arm talent is limited but can play. I don't know if I wouldn't go as far as say it's limited. I get what you're saying. It's limited in certain aspects, like his delivery is not quite right. He's got a very elongated delivery, and he's limited in terms of like deeper progressing throws. Sure. I don't know if you can fix that in season, Jaylen. That's a hard thing to say. It probably depends on the guy. We'll say that this young man in particular is a young man that seems to be amenable to coaching. So maybe you could do something like that in season. Most quarterbacks, that's an off-season kind of thing you got to work on when it comes to the mechanics or something like that. And some guys believe in never changing a dude's mechanics, the way they release the ball. Because they, look at Phillip Rivers. Phillip Rivers had I love NC State. Phillip Rivers is my guy, but he had a really funky, weird release.
And to be honest with Jalen Hurts, I feel like the things that they taught him this offseason hurt his passes. You know what I'm saying? Last year, you see them throw that bomb to Deshaun Jackson. He was throwing, I feel like, better deep ball. This year, I feel like those mechanics made him, like, I don't know, maybe cocky or confident or something like that, where it's like he's too careless with it. Like, he's kind of like, it looks like it's pretty, but it's not ever enough on it. You know what I'm saying? Like, it looks more, he putting too much finesse into it as opposed to actually just gunning it in there when you need to get it there. You know what I'm saying? I feel like he feels like it's so open, but it's not really so open, So it looks finesse. Like, when you see it leave his hands, like, oh, that's a nice pass. Then you see that was horrible. At the end of that pass, you're like, man, you could have put a little bit more on that, or you should have put a little bit more on that. He's trying to finesse his passes. Like, they're trying to make him, it's like they're trying to make him believe in his head that he's a pocket quarterback. Kind of like what they did to McNabb. Remember, McNabb was just fine. We were winning games with McNabb. But when everybody came out, it was like, McNabb's not a pocket quarterback. You know what I'm saying? He needs to work in the pocket. He went out and tried to change his whole game up, and he never was the same since then. Exactly what I feel like they're trying to do to Jaylen. It's like, let the guys play their game, and you work on making that beneficial for your offense as opposed to, like, trying to change these guys to be something they're not,
Yeah. Guys, from my understanding is Minshew's not playing Saturday, that Jalen Hurts is playing.
Yeah.
So
it would take a lot for Jalen. With an ankle injury, the way they be taking up those stats.
I didn't think it was going to happen personally, guys. I didn't think he was going to come out, but I didn't know the nature of the injury. I didn't know how severe it was. It's hard. Like, I don't want to make predictions, man, but from last I heard, Jalen himself.
Like, you might not see him run as much this game, but he definitely playing. Jalen, he don't really. He can't afford to be missing no games. He got to go out there and do his thing and win some football games. And who knows? Sometimes players play better injured. I was always that way in college and pros, man. If I had a bum leg or something like that, those would be the games a bum shoulder, those would be the game I rush for the most yards because I'll be protecting it so much that I'll just be doing things I normally don't do. So some players play good in adversity.
Hard to say, man. I mean, look, when I evaluate him as a quarterback, Jalen Hurts, it's difficult because I see Jalen Hurts. He's a weird in-between type quarterback. I think Jalen Hurts wants to progress into the area of guys like the original guy that I can think of in my head right now probably would be Doug Williams, but that's going a little too far back. But Steve McNair. From Steve McNair, you got the Donovan McNabb. I think he's trying to progress into that type of quarterback. Dante Culpepper, the type that can beat you off the run. They can get you with the running game, but he wants to develop into a passer. The problem is that at the same time, I think he's dynamic enough in different ways. He's not the same athlete Lamar Jackson is. He's not the same athlete that Colin Kaepernick was, but he's dynamic as an athlete with the ball in his hands running. So I think he's this weird kind of in-between quarterback, honestly. You could even say, there's a lot of guys, man. And I agree, guys, that if I think Jalen's built a little different than other guys. So I'm not as concerned with him enduring injuries.
Yeah.
He's built a little different, guys. With that said, the more contact you take, Jordan Howard's a big, strong guy. Jordan Howard gets hurt because he takes contact. Sure, the more contact you take, the more risk there. you're not being adverse to risk. Then yes, you're taking chances that you could come up limp. There's no doubt about it. We'll see how he reacts, guys. I mean, I can't. I don't know, guys. We'll see. I only judge what I see from the film. We saw an adjustment here where they went into, hey man, if they're gonna zone read and they're gonna do that, then we're gonna put a hand on the quarterback every time they zone read. Maybe take them out of their will to want to do that in this game. I don't think that really works until the next week because you already have your game plan going. So it's kind of hard to shift gears like that. With that said, I mean, now we'll see how other teams do. We'll see what these guys do to counteract that. I mean,
yeah, because at the end of the day, it comes down to our coaching staff. You know what I'm saying? Like, you have to be able to counteract anything that they're doing to your offense. That's your job. You know what I'm saying? Like, they want to collapse on Jaylen on option plays, and you need to be able to find new plays that can attack that weakness, because that means there's a hole somewhere in the defense, and you got to attack it. So, I think Sirianni gets stuck on, he had 6 plays that he wants to do, and he, tries his hard not to come off that script. Like, I'm going to do these 6 in a row because they're going to set the next one up. Sometimes you got to stop and do something different. You know what I'm saying? And I don't think he's that developed as a head coach or offensive coordinator yet to stop, because I feel like he feels like he has to get them in that order to set up the next play, which is cool, whatever. Like, if the flow of the game is working, that's why we see some of the drives look pretty. It's the flow of the game on that drive, and they're working and going down the field. But whenever there's a ding or something like that messes up the flow of that drive, it totally messes up the whole rhythm of the offense. And it seems like he doesn't ever, make the proper adjustments to get back on track.
Yeah, Jaylen said, the Donovan Steve McNair mold is why you have to give Hurts 2 years in addition to this team having holes out the wazoo. Yeah, we do, man. And that's my biggest fear, is that trying to chase guys, I get how important the quarterback position is, but there is a case to be made about building the team around the position first, and then seeing what you got in one guy. And if he just doesn't develop into being a more nuanced pocket passer over time, then you can part ways, or you give, Minshew or someone else an opportunity later. But I do agree with that, man. You can get yourself caught up in a situation where you're chasing something and it's to the detriment of the rest of the roster. And, I get that some people believe that if you don't have an Aaron Rodgers, if you don't have that type of, Patrick Mahomes, you don't have that type of talent, then you can't win Super Bowls. But I will point out, as good as Patrick Mahomes and Aaron Rodgers are, they both only won 1 Super Bowl each.
Yeah. Facts.
Even
Russ.
Tom Brady is, that's an anomaly
Wilson
in my
too.
opinion. But yeah.
All those guys, they've been playing a long time to only have 1 Super Bowl. If it's that big of a deal. And I'd rather set our team up. Like I said, Jaylen's still in his rookie contract. Set your team up where you have every single piece. You're not sitting there saying we got holes here, 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 here. Why not fill those holes with your money, with your draft picks? Now, if you got a solid team and then Jaylen steals the problem, now you move on from him. But you got 4 years to do that. You know what I'm saying? Exactly. You got 4 years of nothing but building that roster up to the best roster you can possibly get. People.
And I think that's why guys hate. I think that's why guys hate quarterbacks. They're not first round picks. This why I think has a lot of. I think this has a lot to do with quarterbacks being overdrafted. Is that if you have a borderline guy that might be a late first round to an early second round pick, the problem with taking that dude in the second round is he's on a 4-year contract. So now you're stuck in. Look at the Dak situation where you came to the contract. They end up having to franchise tag him and work out something. You know what I mean? I think it puts you in that weird situation when you have these guys that are not first round picks. I think that's why some of these guys get so overdrafted, is having that 5th year option, which is, yes, it's big money, but it's probably not franchise tag money big. It gives you another year of evaluation before you have to potentially extend that second contract, because you really want to try to get that window and build that roster around the first contract if you can. That doesn't always work. And you got guys like Tom Brady that kept, he was pushing away money so that way he could keep his roster competitive. But
exactly. But now, you don't that's far in between, and that's where the player comes in fact. You know what I'm saying? You're looking at these guys like Russ and all these guys, Dak, and you wonder why, they're not getting the success that they need. Their stats are good, But the team's success is not there because you're still missing pieces because you cannot fill a whole roster when you're paying your quarterback $40 million. You
Yeah,
know,
yeah, it's tough, guys. I see some questions in here too that kind of ties into what we're talking about, which is Richie MC. I don't know, man. It's so at Gate City Sports Talk. Can Jaylen improve at a rate of 25% better each year? I don't know how. That's a tough one, man. When you're talking about percentages, like,
yeah,
here's the thing. He spent time this offseason working on playing on schedule. He's been having these in-person meetings with the head coach. He's got his quarterback coach down on the sideline, right? So they're working on keeping him on schedule. Guys, on schedule just means that you don't break the pocket, you don't break containment too soon. Okay? It means you stick to it, you replace the blitz. So what you do basically is you have a blitz coming at you, you fill the blitz with the football. It's replacing the blitz with the ball. They want him to play on schedule. They're trying to work on some of his pocket mechanics, teaching him how to slide in the pocket. He went with Avery in the offseason. He's a quarterback coach down in Georgia, and he was working with him on playing on schedule, playing on time. He also worked with the kid that's up there in San Francisco, by the way, too. He worked with the kid that's in Chicago. So, I mean, he's worked with a lot of these quarterbacks on this issue. It's tough to say, man. Everybody's a little different. I don't know Jaylen personally, so I don't know his learning capacity. Like, I don't know the guy, man. I've never had a conversation with him. I would love to, but that's kind of difficult to do when, unless you got like hundreds of thousands of subscribers, guys, and some pull with maybe the Eagles organization. Like, that's a pretty difficult ask to get, man. The issue is, I don't know, man. I don't know. Like, you have to. That's where the offseason comes into play, man, where you evaluate the film. You have to evaluate exactly what's going on in terms of the improvements that need to be made. You have to convey that information to the young man. And then that young man needs to then find adequate private coaching to improve the game. Mm-hmm. Now, I will say that in this early season, the elongated delivery on deep passes has been a bit of a problem. His timing on deep passes, playing in time with the offense, right? Knowing when to release the football, knowing how to read something before it's there yet. That's advanced level quarterback stuff, guys. And that's the things that have to improve. That's where that 25% margin would come in at. I don't know if you can do that or not, RC. I can't say. I can't say without talking to the guy. I can't see without seeing the training regimen that's going on, Richie. I don't know, man. Like, I'd have to see everything to make an assessment like that, man. And that's just something from the outside perspective, I just can't. I can't know that. You know what I mean? Like, it's difficult to judge from here. But I will say that they need to work on his ability to anticipate routes coming open, anticipate, the coverage and know that, okay, this is going to be open. But some of that has to do with the receivers too, guys. It's both, man. Both of these groups are they're best friends and enemies at the same time. Like, it's just the truth, man. Like, if a receiver doesn't finish their routes, if a receiver isn't where they're supposed to be, that's a problem. Look back to last year's film. There were interceptions. Yes, Carson had some bad footwork. Carson put the ball on the wrong shoulder on sometimes. Mm-hmm. Some of that also was receivers not being where they were supposed to be, to be quite honest. And that distorts things. That's why film study is so important. That's why getting a harmonious relationship between the receivers, that group, and the quarterback is so important. And that's really the next step, guys. And I don't know. I can't make predictions on that. Like, he's got to learn how to read coverage a little better. He's got to anticipate the routes better. He's got to, let's call playing in time, not on time, but in time with rhythm, in rhythm, basically, with the offense. And then he's got to play on time with the offense, meaning basically when you're facing those kind of pressure packages and things like that, you got to know how to fill them with the football. So,
our receivers need to get better, become better route runners in general. Yeah. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I mean,
have all these cuss word routes, and then expect everything to be on perfect. Some of these plays are timing plays for the route ran perfectly. You know what I'm saying? Like, if you're shaving routes, if you're cutting routes short, you're not deep enough. Those are all things that, a lot of those reads for him to be, one of the quarterbacks that can get the ball out front of the receivers. Sometimes, like, when you're practicing against air in practice, you're running the full route to the right distance, making your cuts at the right time, So Jalen's throwing it. So now in the game, he's just throwing it. You know, you done ran that so many times in practice. He's like, boom, I'm just gonna throw it, boom. And you're not there because now you have somebody over bumping you,
Yeah.
or you have someone over you where you're thinking you need to cut it short or bring it long or whatnot. You know what I'm saying? Change it up a little bit, and now you got a different outcome.
Yeah, it's tough to say, guys. How do you get a guy to play chess instead of checkers? Like, that's a tough question to ask, man. I mean, look, I don't know what turned Peyton Manning into what looked like a pure bust his first season in the league into Peyton Manning. I don't know. Like, I don't know if it was just purely experience and film, and he just, he had all the physical talent to do it,
Yeah.
or it's hard to say, man. Like, I don't know. Like,
He was
look,
very
I
talented
thought that
coming out
look,
of Tennessee.
I thought Allen had it figured out in Buffalo. I'm not so sold on that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not so sold on him anymore, guys. Like, I still think Josh Allen's struggling a little bit with his mechanics, and it's costing him right now. Like, it looked like he really had that solved last year, and he looked like a legit top 5, top 6 type quarterback.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like,
all quarterbacks, really, if you look at the
yeah.
season, there's not very many quarterbacks, even like Brady or none of that. There's all of them that had bad games and look, not so great. There's no perfect team. You know what I'm saying? There's only so many that 7 wins or plus teams out there in general. Most of the league's 5 wins, 6 wins. You know what I'm saying? Like everybody in that 5, 6 range is like the majority of the teams in the league. So you're only gonna get so many of them.
Yeah. All right, guys. I appreciate y'all so much for tuning in. I appreciate the conversation, guys. We're here every Wednesday. We're going to do this national thing where we start off with a team from across the league. It's not the Eagles. And then we'll, if we build up a big enough audience, then we'll stick to the topic longer. But right now, it's mostly Eagle fans here. So it's more so just kind of introducing our fan base into some of these, concepts and these players. So as we get there, guys, we appreciate y'all tuning in. Bird Gang, I appreciate you. I know you got another live. So y'all make sure y'all go and check out Bird Gang because he's a worker, man. He's pulling off all these live streams, my guy. He gets up in the morning, starts a live stream, and it ends the night with one, man.
Right. Yeah, much love to all
guys.
you guys. And make sure you guys get out there. Subscribe to Gang City. Subscribe to Bird Gang 31. All links are inside the chat. And most and foremost, subscribe to BGN Sports Media. Man, we're growing over there. We're getting a lot of new content creators coming in, joining the family. So we're going to have a lot of good football, all teams, you know what I'm saying? Soon it's going to have all the NFL teams. Right now we're growing, we got Niners, Panthers, Raiders coming, Cowboys. And we got a lot of different teams right now. We're definitely growing slowly but steady. We're still fairly new, but go show some support and listen to some good football talk over there.
All right, guys, we appreciate y'all so much, and we'll see y'all next Wednesday, man. We'll try to get the word out on Tuesday night this time about what the topic is, so that way you guys can bring your own questions and bring your own, comments to it. And maybe we'll start turning this into the second half, you guys just coming on and talking about the topic. I mean, we can throw some live streams in there, so that way you guys can kind of carry the conversation. All right, y'all. We appreciate y'all, man. We're out.
Peace out.